Hi, and welcome to the SaVeg podcast. I'm Rose, and I'm a content creator going by the handle Cheap Lazy Vegan, and I also own a vegan cafe by the same name as the podcast, which is SaVeg Cafe.
And I'm Daniel, also a vegan, and one of your favorite guest stars on Cheap Lazy Vegan's YouTube channel.
We're two friends currently living in different countries, and we'll be giving our savage take on all things life, veganism, and the latest trending topics.
So basically, whatever comes to our minds, because we love to talk.
You are currently listening to the previous episode of this podcast, but if you would like to listen to this week's episode and get some exclusive content, go over to patreon.com/thesavagepodcast.
All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SaVeg Podcast.
Hello, everybody.
Today, we are, as per... Actually, I don't even know what I'm saying. We're taking...
guys. Let me just interject here. Daniel has had a few to drink.
Oh, God,
without
people
me.
People think I'm an alcoholic.
Daniel, like I said, it's not an opinion, okay?
So mean.
So how much did you drink, Daniel, so far?
I haven't had that much. I've only had like one bottle of wine. It was a while ago, so I'm sobering up. I'm fine.
What time did you drink? How long ago did you drink?
It was like probably 5 hours ago.
Oh, you're still drunk.
I've sobered up. I'm definitely in a better place,
then.
You know?
Are you sure about that? Because we gonna be talking quite a lot today, and quite possibly a lot in this accent. You know why?
Oh, goddamn, we gonna be getting into it. Why are we talking in this accent, Rose? You tell me. Goddamn.
Because we gonna talk about the Netflix show Tiger King. Okay, I can't even do it right now. Tiger King.
Get the goddamn Tiger King. He be living down the street from my uncle. I can't. Honestly, I can't.
So today, guys, we are going to be discussing the ever so popular Netflix series Tiger King, which is apparently now number 1 in Canada on Netflix. I don't know about the US or Spain.
It's literally gone viral. Like, I'm not kidding you. Literally, like, I remember seeing it come up on my Netflix. There's like you see the like little trailer, and I was like, this is a bit weird. Okay, I'll watch it, whatever. And I started watching it, and it like, next level shit. And then it literally went viral. Everyone's been talking about it. Everyone's like, Tiger King this, Tiger King that. Fuck Carol Baskin.
Oh my God. We are going to get into this whole thing, okay? First of all, guys, if you haven't seen it, we are going to be discussing this, and there will be spoilers. So maybe you want to watch it first, okay? Because...
yeah, recommend watching it before.
This show is batshit crazy. Like...
oh my God.
If a show could be batshit crazy, it is this right here.
Yeah. But the thing that blows my mind, I don't know about you, but like the thing that blew my mind about this show is the fact that it's not nonfiction. Yeah. No, wait, it's not oh my God, what am I trying to say?
It's not
fiction. Real. It's not fiction. Yes, exactly. It's not fiction. It's like actually a real, that's what blew my mind. Cause I was like, okay, these people aren't real. And little did I know that like all of the people that owned big cats in the USA were like not even like a little bit crazy. It's like
batshit crazy
level shit.
I mean, but think about it. Like, what kind of a person would want to have like a tiger living in their house? Not a normal, sane person, right?
That's true.
So,
that's a very good point.
So it's not shocking that all these people are like really crazy, eccentric. We're going to get into this whole fucking thing here because there's so much to say about this. But basically everyone is insane, like clinically insane probably. And I pretty much did not like anybody on that show in terms of like, I didn't think anybody was someone to be on. I couldn't be on anyone's side, basically.
Yeah. No, I felt the same. Like, I felt like the documentary was done in such a way that like I didn't really relate to any of them. In a way, like I didn't feel bad for certain people, like Joe being in prison. Yeah. I didn't feel like, for example, and we'll talk more about Carol Baskin later, but I also felt like what she was doing, like, do I really buy into her whole thing as well?
No. Can I interject and talk about the Carol Baskin thing? Let's just get into it.
Oh, God damn.
Okay, so first of all,
let's get right into it.
I have a lot to say about this big cat rescue situation. Okay. So Carol Baskin, the founder or one of the founders of Big Cat Rescue, or is she the founder? I don't know. Anyway,
I think she's like the founder. Her and
Yes.
her husband that disappeared.
But it used to be called something else. It used to be called Wildlife on Easy Street. So basically, it seems that before, when she was with her ex-husband who disappeared, okay, we'll get into that.
Mysteriously.
Before that happened, it seems that they pretty much were running a very similar kind of thing to maybe Joe Exotic or all of the other people that owned cats
100%.
because they were breeding the animals. But I don't think that means that automatically we should just discount what Big Cat Rescue is doing. I don't know that much about Big Cat Rescue. I'm just going by what I've seen on the show. And also I did read a statement by Carol Baskin on the Big Cat Rescue website. So yes, she was breeding them, but she doesn't breed them anymore. There's a big difference.
Exactly.
So,
but she did say, like, in that podcast as well that you had kindly sent me that I listened to, it talked about how originally they were breeding, it was like primarily bobcats and stuff.
Right.
And then what had happened was, like, one of the bobcats that she had bred for somebody, they were like reselling it at an auction, and that was kind of an epiphany for her to be like, oh, actually she thought she was doing something good for the species, because she's like, they're endangered, it's good to breed them, like it's like gets more of the population out there. But then she realized, actually these animals that I'm breeding are just going back to the fur trade or to whatever else, because people can't handle the grown-up adult bobcats or whatever else, and it's not actually helping the original cause that she thought she was. So she had kind of like apparently an epiphany to like stop the breeding at that point.
Right. Perfect. Yeah. So that's like, so we have a podcast here. If you guys wanted to hear more about this whole thing, there is a podcast called Joe Exotic Tiger King. And it's basically this guy interviewing like all of the people involved, or maybe not all of them, but a lot of the people involved. Yeah. So it kind of dives deep into it. So they do have a couple episodes dedicated to Carol Baskin. So this story was not told. Yeah. So what I guess my biggest problem with the show, well, one of the problems with the show was that, again, obviously it's hard to compress all of that information into a few episodes, but I feel like they really vilified the idea of the sanctuary without really digging into it. And it made anyone that's not educated about animal sanctuaries would watch that video and think, or watch that show and think, oh, she's just as bad as Joe Exotic, which is just not true. Whatever you want to think about Carol Baskin as a person, I mean, again, like she's probably also batshit crazy. Like, I don't know if she killed her husband or not. Okay. Whatever you want to think about that, that's separate from whatever she's doing as a Big Cat Rescue. And I don't think it's fair that they basically painted it as though, oh yeah, like she's a hypocrite because she was breeding animals before. Yeah, she was breeding animals before, but like you said, she decided no longer.
Exactly. She learned from it.
Yes.
And it's interesting too, because I mean, if you look at the documentary, yes, they've painted Carol Baskin in a certain light, and yes, there is some mystery surrounding Carol Baskin and certain things that have happened, with regards to her husband disappearing. I'm still not 100% sure as to what really went on. I don't think anyone is.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, all the people that they were interviewing that, were slagging off Carol Baskin, they all had stuff to gain from slagging her off.
Exactly.
If you know what I mean? Like all of them were zoo or big cat owners themselves, and they didn't like what Carol Baskin was about. So of course they're going to say she's terrible, she's crazy, she's this, because they had something to gain from it, right? Even the Don's family, who was her ex-husband, they interviewed his family, like his ex-wife and their kids. Of course they're going to say terrible stuff about Carol because
they're the family.
Don't like her. You know what I mean? Exactly.
And the wife was abandoned and she was the mistress. Of course she's going to, again, I'm not, and they are entitled to feel that way. Absolutely. 100%. I would probably also feel that way if I were and I would probably also think the same thing. But again, we have to take what they say with a grain of salt. If you're going to interview the family, of course, they're going to say that she fucking killed her husband.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll get to that part. We'll get to that part.
Yeah.
There's so much to cover.
So much. My goodness.
Okay, I do want to say a couple more things about the sanctuary, because this is, I think to me, this is very important, because I want people to understand that there are major differences between a sanctuary and a zoo. And first of all, if you go onto their website and read like the truth about what happened, because they obviously are defending themselves. Again, I'm not saying they're right. And obviously we have to take what they say as well with a grain of salt. But they do talk about, again, I'm talking about the sanctuary. Their sanctuary is actually accredited. Let's see here. Yeah, they're accredited by the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries. So I believe that means that they have a certain standard that they have to meet in order to be accredited. Animal sanctuaries are not the same thing as zoos. Yes, they might have visitors, and yes, they do have to raise money because they are a sanctuary. I'm sorry, but you cannot raise tigers, or you cannot have tigers living in your sanctuary and not raise any money. They are expensive, obviously, to feed them. We've seen that they can be very expensive. And so it's, I know they showed the part where Carol Baskin was like, having some kind of big event at the sanctuary, and there was like all these people, and it made it seem as though this is like what they do on a regular basis. And if you go onto their website, it seems that was only once a year. They have a fundraising event once a year where they invite more people than usual to tour the facility. Another difference is that they don't allow cup petting. They don't touch the tigers, which makes a big difference. Okay. And
they also don't breed them.
They also don't breed them. So they are like again, think what you want about Carol Baskin, but an animal sanctuary does not breed animals. They fix the problem that is created by massive breeding. So yes, like you can't just let these animals go in the wild. If you have thousands of tigers that have been domesticated since birth and have been bred, you cannot just leave them to the wild. Like I'm sorry, you're in the US, first of all. Where are you going to put the tigers? They have to live in a safe environment until they can just live out the rest of their lives.
Exactly. And that's kind of what the basis of the sanctuary is, right? It's like to take in those animals that, don't have anywhere to go, and they can just live out the rest of their life there peacefully and then just pass away. And,
So I just really did not like that. The show just did not seem to go into any of that and kind of show that wasn't really, that's not the purpose of a sanctuary. I just don't want people to see that and think, oh, animal sanctuaries are the same as a zoo. Why is going to a zoo bad, but going to an animal sanctuary is not bad? Those are the main differences. It is very, very different. It is the opposite of what a zoo would do, what Joe Exotic would do.
Joe Exotic.
Oh my God, I can't. Anyway, so I just wanted to get that out there because I think that's important because, so I think it's important so that we understand, because I think a lot of people will watch that and not understand. Do you know?
Yeah, no, I do think because the way that Netflix did the whole documentary, it does make you feel a certain way initially to Carol Baskin, right? Like they were very clever in how they did this documentary.
Oh my God.
And I do feel like
so sensational.
I feel very, very sensational. I mean, and don't get me wrong, they had good content to work with in a sense that like all of these people that keep these tigers, Carol Baskin included. I'm sorry, you know what?
Yes, she's also a bit batshit crazy.
But like she's like that little line that she would always say. I don't know what about you.
Hey there, little cats and kittens. Is that what she said?
Yeah. Hey. No, she's like, hey there, big cats and kittens. I'm Carol Baskin from Big Cat Rescue. Today, the bobcats. And I was like, oh my God.
Like, I know, right?
And then how she was like, guys, come look at my closet. Every single piece of clothing was like animal print. I was like, no, I can't. Like, I honestly can't.
I know. You would think, you're like, is she a real person?
I know all of these people. So I do think that Netflix, in a sense, when they were making the documentary, they had like a very good base of people to work with in a sense that all the people on the show were like next level eccentric people that I've rarely met people like this in my life.
I don't think I've ever met people like this in my life. They just have, there's a whole new meaning to Crazy Cat Lady now. Whole new meaning. I'll just tell you that much.
God damn.
Oh my
Even
gosh.
her wedding picture. So she had she showed her wedding picture with her and her like new husband. I can't even remember his name. And literally he's wearing a leash and is on all fours in their wedding picture. And she's holding him by the leash, wearing some kind of like cat print, I think.
Yeah.
Like
I saw that
dress
picture.
or something. And I was like, oh my God, like, no, what the hell? But again, we can't, you know what? It's her little
Yeah, if
cat
she wants
fantasy.
to do that.
It's making her happy.
So do you think she killed her husband? Let's talk about that.
This is a really tough one because there's multiple sides to the story. I mean, it's obvious that her and her husband towards the end of the marriage were having difficulties towards his disappearance. Sorry, not the end of the marriage. There was multiple things. There's some really suspicious stuff. Like, for example, it was mentioned that her husband had filed a month before his disappearance had filed a restraining order. So he had actually gone, it got denied, but he'd still gone through that process and been like, I think that she's going to try to do something to me.
Right.
So, but then on the flip side, she said that he was potentially suffering from Alzheimer's, and like there was a lot of other stuff going on.
Let me see what she wrote on the website about, because I read it and I let me see what she wrote about the restraining order, because she did write something.
Yeah. She said it was like,
and I didn't really understand.
It had to do with. It said it had to do with like when he was gone, she like got rid of some trailers or something. And he was like pissed off about it. I can't remember exactly what she wrote, if I remember correctly.
So Don spent 1 week per month in Costa Rica. Don was a man who wanted to have sex daily. He would go to Costa Rica during the week, and while I was having my menstrual cycle. I accepted this as something I had to live with. During the week he was away, I would haul off the property as much of the junk as I could. Wendell told Don I was doing this. Don tried calling the police to get them to stop me. They told him he would need a restraining order. It is unclear if it was Don's idea to get a restraining order. So anyway, apparently, I don't know. Like, that's also kind of like...
It's a bit weird.
That's really weird.
Exactly. The whole situation is weird. And also, like, whenever you look at, like forensic files or any of those kind of things, like I'm going back to this, but like the number one, and I'm not saying Carol did it or she didn't, but the number one is like, you look at the people in that person's immediate circle and who had the most to gain, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that she took all the legal proceedings at exactly the right time. So for example, I guess there was like a thing in the documentary where they said, you have to wait 5 years until someone's disappeared before you can claim title to their assets or whatever if you're married. She waited on the day of 5 years, went to the attorney, got all the assets transferred to her name, all of this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of suspicion around that. It's kind of like, I don't know, she had so much to gain from that, and the fact that she wasn't happy in this marriage. I don't know.
I also wonder about if she was maybe like broke and couldn't take care of the tigers. Like, I'm trying to give benefit of doubt. You know what? The problem is everyone that when you read comments on like videos and stuff, people are just like, oh, she did it 100%. She for sure did it. There's no doubt in my mind. She should be in jail. I'm like, hey, can you just calm down, please? First of all.
Yeah, like can you take a chill?
Like, you don't know for sure that she did it. Otherwise, she would probably be in jail. There is no actual physical evidence. So, like, let's just... I'm not saying she didn't or did do it. I'm just saying that we don't actually know. Yes, does it look suspicious? Yes, it does.
100%.
But also, we watched one episode of a series, one hour episode, and now you know for sure that she did it. Are you a fucking detective?
Exactly. But this is just it. There's no body. There's no nothing. There's like literally no evidence whatsoever.
Would she have fed him to the tigers?
Do you think she would?
You know, somebody was saying, what do you call it? Somebody was saying that it was a bit weird that, you know, that scene where Joe Exotic is getting his like foot kind of bitten by the tiger.
Yes.
And then he was like, oh my God, someone put perfume on my shoes. And then they go back to Carol Baskin, and she's like,
oh my God.
She's like, well, you know, if you wanted someone to kill him, you would put sardine oil on the shoe. And I'm like, this is the kind of shit that they like. This is what they. See,
but
Netflix
this is what
very,
I mean.
like,
Netflix.
Yeah, whoever made the producers are very smart at their editing. I'll just tell you 100%. That much.
Exactly, because like honestly, it was like perfect. But there was so many. I can't think of any others. But that's like such a good moment where the editing was just perfect, because it's like have him there, literally getting attacked and being like, "Someone put something on my shoe," and then her being like, "Well, if you want a tiger to kill you, just put sardine oil on their shoes."
And she just knew. See, that's the kind of shit where you're like, "Oh, you knew what to do." I do wonder though that like. If a tiger were to eat a human, would there not be any traces? Like, would there not be any?
I feel like there would be still something.
Right?
Do you know what I mean? Like, because they wouldn't typically, like, we have big bones and stuff in us. So I feel like they wouldn't necessarily, like, eat through all of the bones of us. But I mean, I guess I'm not a tiger expert, so I don't know.
What do you think about the meat grinder theory?
Oh, God. Well, apparently, again, Netflix did Carol dirty on this when she said, quote, that the meat grinder that they have is actually a very small, like, tabletop one where, like, if you were to put meat in it, like, you would literally could put the meat the size of, like, my hand into the meat grinder.
Right.
So, like, to put it's not like a full, like, industrial style meat grinder. So to do that, you would need, like, to chop up a body into, like, so many parts.
Right.
So, like... And yet Netflix on the show, they showed like this massive industrial meat grinder that would be at like a warehouse. Not the one that she had.
See, that's very deceptive. Like, come on. That's a little bit mean.
Like, it's so bad.
The thing is, like, I do feel, if she did not do it, right? Which there is a chance that she didn't do it, because there is actually no evidence that she did. And if she didn't do it, I would feel just so bad for her, because now this show is blowing up. Everyone thinks she killed her husband. It was already probably bad before, because she was already getting accused. Yeah. And now this entire thing has become global.
Oh my God. It's like the Stephen Avery case. It's just exploded, right? Like this
I know.
like TV, this whole series has just exploded across the globe. It's huge in Spain as well, like international.
Yeah.
So everyone will know who Carol Baskin is.
I know.
Poor woman.
I just feel bad for what's going to happen to the tigers in the sanctuary. Hopefully, if she loses somebody can take care of the tigers.
Someone will take over.
I don't know.
Hopefully they have some kind of like trust or something, or like a, I don't know, directorship.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. I don't know. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Another thing that I just have the refuting statement by Carol Baskin on my desktop. So I'll just read one more interesting thing. So, let's see. Application for a restraining order. Don spent 1 week so that was the restraining order part. And then, he filed the restraining order and, let's see. Don disappeared 2 months later in August. Anne is the secretary.
Don's secretary.
Yes. Yeah. Anne claims.
But apparently, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, apparently, according to that, I think that they were saying that this secretary had actually been embezzling funds from the company. Mm-hmm. So actually, they had just filed a lawsuit with this secretary. So obviously, she was a disgruntled employee and was not happy with Carol. So obviously, she wouldn't be a great person to interview either, even though they said that she was so close to Dawn and blah, 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 blah. But yet... And they in that document that you have in front of you, I think they linked the lawsuit.
Yep.
So
that's the thing. This is this is the thing. This is why you can't just watch one episode of a series and think that someone is guilty of murder. Like, come on, guys. Now,
goddamn, I think that they could do a full series on Carol Baskin and the disappearance of her husband.
Yes, oh my god, I would watch the shit out of that. Like, I would love to see that. I have to say that she's not very convincing as an innocent. You know what I mean? Like, she seems it's just because she's so eccentric as well, and the way she talks.
She has crazy eyes.
Yeah, she definitely has those crazy eyes. So like when she talks, you're just like, oh god, like you are not very convincing as a non-murderer.
I know. She's like, oh, hi, all you big, and the way she looks at it like this with her eyes. Hi, all you big cats and kittens. I'm Carol. It's like, oh my god, like this is actually something out of a horror movie. Like, seriously.
Oh god, she is something else. Anyways, I need to find. Yeah, so they did link it somewhere. I can't find it right now, but apparently, she got caught for embezzling money or whatever, which is
or something like
that you should probably talk about in the show if you're gonna
100%.
Yeah, if you're gonna accuse
someone,
you're gonna
give her credit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's see.
But yeah, I think like at the end of the day, they should have included that point in the documentary about her embezzling or trying to embezzle some. It was like either funds or property.
I found it. Okay. Anne McQueen is referred to as Don's trusted assistant. A few months before his disappearance, we caught her embezzling roughly $600,000 in properties by buying them with our funds and putting them in her name. A court ordered her to return them. Not the best sign of integrity, credibility, someone to believe. And then there is a link to the case, which is very interesting. So, again, not to be trusted.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's kind of like, again, it's like Dawn's ex-wife. She's not going to have good things to say about Carol either way. You know what I mean? So, and neither are her kids. Like,
immediately when they were interviewing them and the wife was saying stuff, I was just like, oh, it's not really a credible source. You know what I mean?
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Oh God. Honestly,
anyways,
I mean,
but again, maybe she did do it. We have no idea. There's a lot of, again, this document is very long. Maybe we'll link it in the show notes so you guys can read it yourself. We don't know. We don't know. There is no evidence at the end of the day. But why does a man just disappear?
Evidence.
Like, what a strange story.
That's the weird. No, exactly. That's the weirdest thing. It's like people don't just disappear.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
what's an alternative theory? What do you think? Alternatively, let's say she didn't kill him, right? So do you think he's still alive somewhere? Like,
well, they said that he was potentially in the documentary. They said another option is that he fled or he like went to Costa Rica.
Yes,
you know what I mean, because he like loved Costa Rica and he wanted to live there, so he disappeared to Costa Rica. But then why would he leave all of his funds, his assets, everything that he'd worked his whole life for? And apparently he was quite a stingy man that like loved his money.
Right.
So he wouldn't just like leave it with her. Do you know what I mean? It makes no sense. Like, if he had gone to Costa Rica, she would literally have nothing. That's what would have happened. From the sounds of like how Dawn was as a person with regards to money and everything else.
Right.
Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, interesting. It would be helpful because she keeps saying that he has like Alzheimer's or he could have had Alzheimer's. Like, it would be helpful if they had some kind of medical record, but Who knows? We can just go by whatever she's saying and whatever everyone else is saying. But it was also interesting that his friend was like, "Oh, if I can pull this off, then it would be the best thing. It would be the greatest thing I've ever pulled off," or something like that. Remember, before he left. So that's another like weird thing to say. You know, who says that? That sounds like someone that's ready to go and hide somewhere.
Exactly. It sounds like he's a very strange man, though. I mean, the fact that he was like he apparently needs to have sex every single day, so he would leave when she was on her menstrual cycle to go have sex with somebody in Costa Rica. Like, really? Like, come on. Like, that's so ridiculous.
Crazy. So crazy.
So crazy and so just like, honestly, all of these people. Okay,
and the crazy, I saw this meme and it was like, or this comment or something. And it was like, the show is so crazy that it makes you, that a guy that accidentally shot himself becomes overlooked. Like that story is overlooked because this whole Carol thing is so crazy.
Yeah, so you have the whole Carol thing, and then you have like her biggest rival, Joe Exotic, right? Like the main kind of like.
And we have that guy that was like basically having a sex cult in his like Tiger Kingdom. Don Antle.
Bhagavan Doc. Bhagavan, what was it? Doc Antle, yeah. But his first thing, I remember they called him like Bhagavan because it means like God or something.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Seriously. Oh my God.
So he refers to himself as the God. And it was so funny because I remember at one point his son was like talking and they were like interviewing his son in the show. And they were like, oh, so like he calls himself Lord. And his son's like, well, yeah, in his own little world, he is the Lord, you know? and I'm just like, honestly, I'm just like, how does this man have like all of these like 4 or 5 women that live with him or have separate houses or whatever in this like tiger cult? Like,
I know. And they all get paid only $100 a week to work 12-hour days.
And no time off. Literally, they can't see their family.
Yeah.
They have to legally change their names to whatever probably he picks out for them. It's literally a cult. They have to be vegetarian. They practice yoga, which, I mean, that part isn't so bad. But when you package it in with everything else, he's dictating literally every single element of their life.
Yeah.
And the fact that they like can't leave, like what if their friend gets married or like, you know, weddings, funerals? He's like, nope, you know, because he's like, there's going to be tigers that need to be fed. They still need to be fed. Like no time on. And I was like, oh my God, this guy is insane.
Did he not let them leave ever?
No, I don't think they've ever left. Like,
that's crazy.
He was talking about funerals and stuff and he was just like, no, like they just can't. Like maybe they've had some time off. I don't know. But from the sounds of the show, it doesn't sound like it's something that he would like give them the liberty for.
Yeah. And it was interesting that the way that they explained it as well is that these types of people, they want to get the tiger. They're kind of like narcissistic or have that kind of personality trait where they feel like they need some sort of power over, they feel a sense of power when they have these like big animals and they're like cuddling with them. They feel special. You know what I mean? Exactly. So they're more likely to do these kind of crazy behaviors like being the fucking leader of a cult.
Well, exactly. And they were saying that these people like Doc Antle is like, because he has these like big animals and like, elephants and tigers and all this stuff, other people that come into that are easily influenced, like these women that are with him, they see this and then they see him as this kind of like God or figurehead of these like animals. And it's like this extra level of power over them. And he's like, oh, if you're with me, you can interact with my animals. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like this whole, and it's similar to what Joe did with the guys that he was with, because it's again, that undue influence over people, because these people get a taste of being with these amazing animals in this kind of whatever weird situation, and they, fall for it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Do you think Joe's little 2 husbands, do you think they were straight?
Oh God. Oh my God. This is another thing. Okay. Like talking about Joe Exotic first of all.
This show is so crazy.
I know,
we've got a polygamist gay dude who's married to 2 guys that are supposedly straight. We've got a potential murderer / animal rights activist running a tiger sanctuary that's going against all of the tiger owners. We've got a sex cult leader who owns a huge zoo and traps women under his wing, pays them $100 a week. I mean, this story.
And don't forget. Don't forget about the guy that was an ex-drug a drug trafficker who killed somebody, who also had his own sanctuary of animals, and then that lady that that was named the one-armed lesbian.
Who named her the one-armed lesbian?
I saw it in a meme or something.
Oh,
it was like
my
this.
God.
It was like the Tiger King has everything, and they were like listing off all of this stuff, and there was like and a one-armed lesbian.
You know what's funny? I didn't even notice that she only had one arm until the part where they showed that her arm was cut off.
Her getting, yeah. And do you know that she didn't have to lose that arm?
What do you mean?
Because do you remember in the documentary, she was like, when she got, so she got her arm bitten.
Right.
Then she went back to the hospital and she could sign that paper still. It really hurt and stuff. And then the doctor said, okay, look, we can salvage your arm, but it's going to take up to a month or 2 months of rehabilitation.
I think it was
blah,
a
blah,
year
blah, blah,
to
blah.
2 years.
Oh yeah, probably a year. Okay, maybe longer. Yeah. And they were like, it's going to take this much time. And she was like, you know what? Fuck it. Amputate it.
Oh, yeah. I
and
saw that part.
The reason she did that is because apparently she was like, she didn't want the media to win. And she was like, Joe Exotic is always like, our number one mission is the animals. And if I let the media win on this to say that the animals ripped this girl's arm off, then it looks really, really bad on the park. Unless if I go back straight to work and stuff, it looks like nothing's happened. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
That was her like philosophy.
Right. And what do you think about that?
Yeah. So, oh God, I think I would have tried to save my own arm, to be honest, but maybe I'm a little bit selfish.
Well, I think that these people that think that they run this zoo and think, oh yeah, I'm doing so much great things for the animals, we need to realize that actually you're not. You're creating problems.
Yeah, true.
So
this is it.
That's the thing. It's like, it's fucked up.
Well, I mean, a lot of the people, and again, this was in the documentary about the people that, especially that Joe hired. So you had Doc Antle that had his harem of women, and then Joe typically would hire people that were like at the end of their ropes. Yeah. So like he would like find people off of like criminals, Craigslist, all of these places where, you know,
they didn't have anywhere to go, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so he would take advantage
his philosophy
of them.
was, exactly. He was like, his philosophy was, if they don't have anything and then you give them something, they're going to cherish that because they're not going to want to like lose that.
Yeah.
Apparently.
It's true. It's so fucked. And that's how he how he got his 2 husbands.
Well, this is true. So again, okay. So what do you think about, so Joe Exotic, obviously he was the owner of one of the roadside zoos, we'll call them. Yeah. And he basically gained these 2 husbands throughout the show. And what do you think? Like, I mean, they kept saying that these guys were straight, but like,
well, we talked about this a little bit off the, what do you call this? Off the podcast. And,
off the podcast.
Yeah, we both, I mean, I think that it doesn't make sense that they were quote unquote straight. I mean,
exactly.
Unless they were complete drug addicts, because they basically said that they were both, you know, really reliant on meth and stuff.
Drugs.
And so unless that's the only thing that was the motivating factor, which I mean could be. Yeah. But I think it'd be very difficult to be married to a man if you were quote unquote straight, you know?
Well, exactly. And not only just married to a man, but married to a man for a pretty long amount of time. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like this was just for like a day or like a month. It was like they were with him for a long time. Yeah. And like, I mean, obviously we don't know these men's psyches, and like they were saying, the one guy was like, or both of them were hooking up with all the girls in the park and stuff. And it's like, okay, well, you know, there are legitimately bisexual people out there that like men and women. So that could be the case. We don't actually know. And like, you know, maybe they were, I mean, yeah, I think so too, because it just doesn't make, you know, I just don't get how you would, I get it. Like maybe I know that a lot of people that are abusing substances, they might sleep with the same sex, even though they're not like that way orientated, just to get money and stuff, to get drugs. But like marriage, I feel like is the next level. Do you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't marry somebody, I feel like. But
also maybe they're really manipulated because they met him when, you know, he always chooses those really young boys, you know, they meet them.
That are so young.
They meet them when they're very young and they barely know themselves yet. And
true.
I think
they're
again,
like 19, 20.
Yeah, sexuality is also very complex and complicated. I do feel like when you are that young and there's a guy that's very charismatic and can kind of convince you. Otherwise, you could almost be convinced that you're bisexual or gay or whatever. I really do feel like that.
Do you remember the line that he said to them in the truck?
The porn line?
It was so funny.
Okay, you say it. Say it. Say it in the accent.
I will. He was like, well, what was his name? Was it Travis? It was Travis, right? Well, hey, Travis, you watch, how straight is you? And he was like, oh, I'm pretty straight. You watch porn? You're like, yep. All right, do you like to see the guy with the big one or the little one? And he's like, well, the big one. Well, goddamn, you ain't that straight then, is you?
I like your Joe Exotic impression.
Oh goddamn! But he be talking like this, Rose. I was thinking one of the things
you need to sound a little bit more twangy. Twangy.
That's true. I can't. Yeah. I know that is the right word. I can't do it. I can't do it. I've lost it, Rose.
Oh, goddamn! You need to watch the show and practice.
Dude. But I was just thinking, how funny is it that the show has our favorite accent in it? Like, so many people too. It wasn't just Joe Exotic. It was so many people that had it.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
I was just like, oh my.
Oh God. And then I saw under the trailer of the show, there was some comments, and one of the comments was like, this is the most American looking show I've ever seen.
Oh my God. I mean, the fact that like you have this guy, Joe Exotic, with this like this horrible mullet.
Oh God.
Like just this like seriously back swamp mullet.
Yeah.
It was just so funny. And then like this like super, I love the Southern accent, but like, oh God, it was just.
Oh, he was so funny. And did you know that it wasn't him singing?
Yeah, I did. I actually Googled that. Apparently it was somebody else.
I thought it was him. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, that's so weird. That doesn't sound like him.
You're like, he's such a good voice.
I know. I was like, wow, he's actually a good singer. It's unfortunate. His speaking voice is so unfortunate, but.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Joe Exotic as well, I mean, like, I have to give props to him in some respects in the fact that he was just so confident. Do you know what I mean?
I think he was a narcissist, though.
I know, 100% he was.
I actually don't even know if he was confident. I think that he was... Some people that seem very confident are actually quite insecure. So, because I was listening to something, I can't remember what it was, but basically he was so bothered by the whole Carol Baskin thing. Apparently, like, he couldn't stop talking about her. Anytime she would do even like remotely anything. And I get that like his zoo is, in jeopardy or whatever, but he would have to fight back harder kind of thing,
Yeah. He became obsessed.
Yes.
You could see it in the show though as well. He was literally like, I get it. Like you get into an argument with someone, you get in a fight with someone, it might bother you for a little while, but he like took it to the next level where like literally everything, even if Carol hadn't done anything, he would like make a point about her in the show or like he had it out for her, like 110%, like crazy.
So, anyways, but yes, he ran for president though. Wasn't that interesting?
Oh my God.
This guy.
I mean, if Donald Trump can do it, I mean, why not Joe Exotic?
It's true. Honestly, like, I wouldn't put it past. I wouldn't put it past. It is very possible.
Maybe he'll run again.
I mean, at this point, I wouldn't think. How do I say this? If Donald Trump can be president, I think anyone can be president at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if Joe gets, what is it called when you get out of prison? Inaugurated? Is that right?
Yeah, maybe. No, that's when you become a president. No, wait. Inauguration.
Oh, yeah. Oh God. Oh God. Wait, I think that is.
Right?
Oh my God.
Now I'm confused. Is it inauguration?
I might cut this part because we sound really stupid.
No, it's funny.
Yeah.
You're drunk. It's okay. You can cut it if you want.
No. What was it called? Basically, if he gets like, why can't I think of? Anyway. He gets a pardon or whatever from prison. He comes out of prison. I wouldn't put it past him if he ran for president to get elected.
I mean, now that he's probably loving all the attention now.
Oh my God, he's probably like loving it so much. He's probably like in prison, like yes.
Yeah. Do you think he should be in prison?
Not for putting a hit on Carol, because there was too many. In my opinion, and again, this is just going off the documentary, right?
Yeah.
But in my opinion, I don't think he should be in prison because the evidence was so wishy-washy. It was like kind of like one person's word against another. Like you have this kind of scrupulous character that allegedly took £3,000 or $3,000 off of Joe to kill Carol, yet never went to anywhere near her, went off and spent all the money somewhere else, doing goodness knows what. So it's like really like what was actually said there, and was it more Joe was joking around because he always talked about killing Carol,
right? Or
like was there actually substance to what he was trying to say? I don't know. I just think that the evidence was too circumstantial.
Interesting.
What are your thoughts?
I kind of want to rewatch those episodes because there was a lot of stuff happening. I do think that his threats were pretty, they were not innocent.
Aggressive.
Yeah, they were very aggressive, and he made a lot of threats. So I think that I would be concerned if I were in law enforcement. I would be like, okay, this guy might be serious. Also because he always has guns around, and he's always talking about killing her. I do think he was set up, And I do think the people, what's his face, the other guy, Jeff, is that his name?
Jeff Lowe.
Yeah, I think he should also be potentially in prison if Joe's going to be in prison. They were both They were both talking about it.
Well, this is it. It's like, why did the other two guys get nothing? And the other guy that took apparently money to go kill her, he didn't even go to jail. Like, really? It's like you're gonna take Joe and put him in jail.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you. I think a lot of the threats. I think maybe Joe shouldn't have been in jail per se for this alleged murder for hire, but I do think that maybe he should have done some time or potentially had like a fine or something for all the slander and for everything else.
But I think there was evidence to. I'm sure they didn't just take it by someone's word. I think they actually had, because they had that informant, whatever his name was.
Yeah.
So they had that informant guy.
Yeah, but wasn't the informant also one of the guys that was involved?
But this is what happens in law. This is the kind of twisted part about the justice system, is that if you are like the snitch, then you could potentially get out of prison time. So basically he became the snitch essentially. So he started working with law enforcement, and then he got the other Jeff guy to also become involved, so that they basically kind of set him up, even though they were all involved in it from the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this is what I mean. Like, and that's why I'm like, well, how credible are those people that are allegedly snitching on him? Because those three could have conspired to set him up. Do you know what I mean? That's where it's like, where I'm not, I'm not sure,
Yeah. So at that point, because like they could be having conversations on the phone, right? So let's say they're having conversations and they're probably going to steer it toward the direction of Joe saying something that would incriminate him. So I think it's called like entrapment when someone, I'm not sure exactly, but I think it's called entrapment when you kind of fake a scenario that otherwise would not have happened. So basically someone committing a crime. It's like dangling candy, or no, that's not the right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying though?
But it
setting up the scenario. Yeah.
Yeah, because like for Joe, if anyone even mentioned Carol Baskin, it set him off right away. Yeah. So it is like dangling candy in front of a child because the child would try to eat it.
Yeah, but if there was no candy, anything about Carol, then the child would not have
exactly.
Candy.
Exactly. Yes. If you hadn't mentioned Carol Baskin, then it would be fine.
So obviously they set up this whole thing. I don't know whose plan was it originally to plan this whole thing, but I don't believe it was Joe's original plan to actually start.
It wasn't solely because even Jeff Lowe, when they were allegedly planning this murder, I think it was Jeff that was pulling up stuff on Google Maps and was like, oh, this is the route that she takes for biking. You could set somebody up here, blah 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 blah. Really, you're right, almost that entrapment of egging somebody on, being like, we can do this. This is how we can do it.
And originally it wasn't even entrapment because Jeff Lowe actually wanted to do it, and this is why he should be in jail because 100%. He's the one that was starting to plan this whole thing, and then later started being an informant. And then what? Now he has the zoo under his name. Now he has
a new zoo. Yeah. And he's moved all of the animals from that because they removed to a new area now, I think. They've closed off the GW zoo or whatever it was and moved it to a new kind of bigger area where they can have I don't know, better cages apparently, and I don't know.
So fucked.
It's so messed up.
It's so messed up.
Honestly, it's
I know.
It's
it is crazy. So I'm trying to think. Oh, wait, why did he bring on Jeff Lowe again? I know it's because they were having financial problems, but why were they having financial problems?
Okay, if I remember correctly, because again, I watched this a while ago, so not a while ago, but when it came out, basically. He was having, because what had happened was Joe had originally been taking, the baby tigers to the malls for petting and stuff, because he makes a lot of money from that.
Yeah.
He decided to, for whatever reason, to get at Carol or whatever else, decided to brand it as Big Cat Entertainment.
Oh, he got sued.
And he got sued. Right. So then Big Cat obviously sued him for a lot of money, millions or million dollars or whatever. And he was going through this whole legal battle, and he was basically he's not going to recover from this. And this is when somehow he met this guy, Jeff, or somebody introduced him to Jeff, who was this high flyer who looked like he had lots of money. He was going to Vegas all the time, staying in $10,000 a night suites or whatever, with always tigers around.
Oh, God.
And so he thought, oh, this guy can help my financial problems. And I think Jeff did put up front some money. But then it turned out later that actually he didn't have all this money that he was allegedly flaunting. So I think that's originally why. And also another reason why Jeff came in useful but also dangerous is one of the things that I think from the show that Joe was doing is when Big Cat Rescue originally sued Joe, he transferred all of his assets to somebody else's name,
right?
So that Big Cat Rescue can sue Joe, but he's worth nothing.
Right.
So then they have to create another lawsuit. Big Cat Rescue has to sue the other person because actually all of his assets were moved over and it cost them more money and more legal time and everything else. So I think he brought Jeff in as well to kind of also create a legal game where Big Cat Rescue is going to have to spend more time chasing down these assets because they keep moving from person to person.
Right. And instead,
that was my understanding.
Now he's in jail because of Jeff.
Exactly. So I don't know. I think after so obviously we talked about Joe's 2 straight husbands, allegedly straight.
Wait, we need to talk about Travis's suicide.
Oh, I know.
I was so shocked.
Oh my God, I know.
You know what's funny?
Well.
You know what's funny though? I actually thought this was the second episode because like I told you, for some reason, I like skipped episodes 2 to 4. Maybe someone else was on my account and watched it. I don't know because I share my Netflix with my family, but we each have our own like little login thing. Anyway, but I guess I somehow skipped 2 to 4 and I just went straight to like episode 5. And I was like, holy shit, he just killed himself. Anyways.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God. It was pretty intense though because it's like you don't see him actually doing it, but you see the person in front of him reacting when he does it.
That was so intense. Can you imagine?
I was like, oh my God, no. But
Do you think it was an
scarred
accident?
For life.
Do you think it was an accident?
I mean, from the sounds of it, it sounded like Travis at that time was like quite, fucked up on drugs a lot of the time and was like always just wielding a gun around. So I think I don't think he like meant to kill himself.
Right.
But I think he was just like, again, pretending and just like, probably high off his head, doesn't even know what's going on and happened to pull the trigger.
Oh my God. Seriously,
I don't think it was
would you play with guns like this? I will never understand.
Again, all of Joe and his boyfriends had these fucking like guns, and then I remember there was one episode where he was like, if any of you animal rights people come down here, you're gonna be greeted with this. And then he pulled out this fucking machine gun and starts shooting it into the water, and I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Like half the show is him and his 2 husbands like blowing shit up and shooting things.
I know, it's
on
crazy.
Their like property.
Of course, someone's gonna die from that. Hey.
Exactly.
And you're high on drugs.
Exactly. It's like they said about the animals, but I think also with having guns on the property and doing what they were doing, it's a ticking time bomb, right?
Yep.
Like if you're going to play with dangerous weapons, chances are there's going to be some kind of incident that's going to happen, right? And it's the same as like one of the things that really bothered me about the whole documentary is this whole what am I trying to say? The way that all these people that own these big cats, they made it seem like it's okay and that they're friendly and that they're their friends and everything else. It's like, hang on a second. No, these are wild animals. Like these are not your pets. Yeah. And there has been time and time again where people have owned these big animals, multiple big animals for centuries, or not centuries, but like for a long time, like, and then they get killed. Yeah. So a really good example were those 2 guys in Vegas that run that show. What was it called? It was like Siegfried and something, whatever. It was a big cat show. Yeah. It was these 2 guys, and they had been doing this show, I think for maybe like, I could be wrong, but like around 20 years or something. And again, raised tons of tigers and lions from when they were babies and had these like really good relationships with these tigers. And one day, one of them just got killed by one. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just like, you play with fire and you're going to get burned.
These are wild animals. Like they do not belong in these cages, and they should not be bred to live in a home. Like seeing those tigers like in a car with them just like made me just so sick to my stomach. And the way that they just rip the babies apart from the mom as soon as they're born. Did you watch that scene? I was so heartbroken. So sad. And then just bringing them to their house. I'm like, these are not pets. These are wild animals, and they need so much more space. And it's just, it's insane. It's just, and they make it seem almost, they do touch. I feel like they didn't really have a message in that kind of, in that aspect, because on one hand, they did talk a little bit about, obviously they interviewed Carol Baskin, and she did talk about a lot about, the problems with this kind of thing, but they didn't really delve into it. They delved more into, her past and stuff like that. And
also the drama of everyone else.
And all the drama. Yeah. And then of course, in the last little bit of the last episode, the campaign manager guy, he put it kind of nicely where he was like, it was all just, people fighting against each other, and we all forgot what this whole thing was for, which was for animals.
It's all about
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's how I honestly felt about the show itself. I was like, well, the show itself forgot about what's the important message here. I do feel like they could have added in a little bit more of that information about the fact that it is not glamorous to have tigers and lions and fucking ligers apparently around. Yeah. Like, it's fucking insane.
Exactly. Well, this is the whole thing. I think that's where I get why they wanted to sensationalize this, because there is some very big personalities, some like insane characters that you never think in your life you're going to meet.
Yeah.
So that adds to the success of the show, and that's why the show has been so successful. But I do feel like, and I think I saw a meme or something about it, it's like, really, like, after everything that's happened, the biggest losers in this whole entire thing is the big cats, because really nothing's progressed forward, and I don't think that message was conveyed very well in this series, and it did kind of almost like sensationalize having them as pets. Like, it showed Doc Antle and all of these guys having these like really beautiful, what looked like beautiful relationships with these animals, whereas it didn't go into like some of the dangers and like actually some of the problems that these animals face being in those kind of environments. So I know that there's not much time, but I think that they could have like done it a little bit, like done a bit more justice on that side. And
it's all about me. Oh yeah, I love these animals. I love taking pictures with them. I love having them around. What about what's best for the animals? What about what's best for those cats? Exactly. Why is there a cat? Why is there a tiger in Alabama?
Exactly. Well, there's the thing. Well,
that's what
Joe
even
said.
Yeah.
He was like, goddamn, when a tiger's born, a baby cub, for the first 3 months, I can make $100,000 from that baby.
Oh my God.
So why am I not going to take it to the mall and let people pet it?
Oh,
Makes
it's so
no
crazy.
Sense.
So crazy. That's the thing.
So, they're in it for the money.
But then, at the very end, that little clip, that old clip of Joe talking, when he was like, because he was basically saying that we shouldn't have tigers in, you know what I mean? He was saying like the kind of animal rights talk.
Yeah.
But then what happened?
I think what happened, because I also heard like when he first started his zoo, he didn't have any tigers to begin with, I don't think. And there was like a weird, like, it was another guy that had like some tigers and lions on his property in the States, like a different guy. And basically the police got involved and had to remove the animals, and Joe and his team went there and they rescued them almost as if like a sanctuary to put them at his place, right?
Right.
But then what I think happened is, as soon as he realized, or as soon as he started, one, the expense of keeping these animals, but then also when he realized how much money could be made from the babies, that's where he lost his way, because that's when he started prolifically breeding them, prolifically like selling them to other people. And because he, like he said, he can make so much money from a cub, like that's his moneymaker. That's how he made all the money for the zoo, is through the cub petting. So for him, it was like, as soon as he saw those dollar signs, it kind of shifted his direction, I feel like, of where he was going.
Absolutely. So, and then of course we don't know what happens to those older tigers, but I think we can speculate, as it was kind of mentioned, that even Don Antle probably executes them once they get to a certain age.
Exactly. They were saying that Doc Antle specifically, again, I don't quote me on this because we have no evidence for sure, but they were saying that he euthanizes a lot of the cubs. So once they get to, because they said that the cubs basically from about like 2 weeks old till about the time they're 3 to 4 months, you can do the petting and everything else. Once they turn 4 months, they're a bit too old for it. And then they become a cost to the company, basically, to the thing. And so I think that, a lot of the cubs, who knows what happens to them? And if you need to have this constant cycle of having cubs, you can only keep so many, right?
This is the problem with commodifying live animals and making them into commodities.
An industry.
Yeah. So I don't trust any of those people. When they they talk shit about Carol, I'm like, you really you don't give a shit about animals. Like, let's be fucking honest. You just like petting them because they're cute. It's all for your personal gain. And it's just disgusting. And like that girl that they interviewed, the one that used to work for Don Antle, and she was like, at first there were, a certain amount of, cubs being born. And then later it was just more and more and more.
All the
time.
Because
it
got prolific.
If you only see dollar signs at that point, and you know that those cubs are going to make you so much money because people go and pay for, those pictures, which, by the way, that is the biggest problem. It's because we go there and we pay money to do this, and then we post it on social media, and then all our friends want to go and do it. So that is the root of the problem. And that's where we need to stop doing that, take responsibility and not support these kinds of fucking, industries. So yeah, I don't know. It's really sad.
It's crazy. It is like a part of me, the reason why I liked the documentary is just because of all the crazy people. Yeah. I just couldn't believe that these people exist and like and that all of them were like interacting with each other and part of this like big cat. I didn't know the big cat world in the US is so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But then a big part of me is like, I think that like we were saying on this podcast is like, I think the message got missed about, the animals and what is actually important. And I think that there could have been a little bit maybe at the end or at some point in the documentary, you still could have had these like sensationalized characters and whatever else. Exactly. Cause you were going to have that anyway. As soon as Joe opened his mouth, it was like, what the hell? The things that came out of that guy's mouth is freaking crazy.
Give me some quotes, Daniel. Come on. Give me some quotes.
Oh, god damn. Well, I wrote a few down, but like...
what was the thing about balls? When like his husband died, he was like, in the funeral, he was like, that boy has some golden balls.
Also the wedding, like it was just so awkward.
Oh my god.
The three of them getting married, I was just like, oh my god, I just don't even know what's going on.
Whoever was marrying them, like couldn't even take it seriously. It was like...
I know. She's like, I know there's some weird weddings out there, but this one takes the cake. And then I love how Joe was mentioning about Doc Antle. He's like, Doc Antle, he's got his group of 4 women. I got my 2 husbands. He's like, not like it's a competition or anything.
But it is.
I was like, what the hell? Yeah. Well, apparently, also going back to like, I know we mentioned this briefly about his 2 husbands, and the fact that they were like quote straight, but whatever. Right. Apparently, Joe's newest husband, this like new guy that he married, he did an interview, and I watched it on YouTube. It was like a quick interview. I can't remember who it was with. And he was like talking to this guy, and he was like, oh, what about the mention of, Joe's ex-husbands being straight? And he was like, well, the one guy that's still alive, the one that had the really bad teeth. Yeah. He was like, well, the first time I met him, he tried to hit on me, so I don't know how straight he was.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So again,
I don't think, of course, I don't believe that they were straight. I think that maybe people that don't because like when did they get married and stuff? Was it a long time ago? Was it like early 2000s?
I can't remember. It was like, I think it was early 2000s. Yeah. I can't remember exactly, but it was a while ago. And they were both young, like you said. Like the one guy was 19 years old. Like you don't even know what you want at 19. So I think that they were easily impressionable.
They were easily impressionable. That is the phrase. They were very easily impressionable.
Exactly. And the fact that these people, again, and not necessarily us, but other people that might be influenced by, these big animals and stuff. They'll see these people like Doc Antle, like Joe, like even Carol, and they see them with these cats and they're like, oh my God, like I look up to that person. They're amazing. And that's how they're able to get, like, that's how like Doc Antle, I'm sorry, like he's much older guy now. And he still has all of these like young women that are like his beckoning call. And it was so funny because I remember there's a scene where he's in the Jeep. And they're driving through his like property or whatever. And he's like, oh, this house is for my girl China. And this house is for my Italian girl, whatever. And then the guy was like, oh, like, which house do you sleep in? Like, do you have a house? And he was like, my social life is far too complex and not PG enough for this show or something. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God. He probably has like a bunch of girls living in his house, just like doing him sexual favors.
Oh God, who even knows? And those people piss me off because you know what? I am a lovely, relatively attractive single guy, and I can't even get a fucking date. And here's people with like harems of women and 2 husbands, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck you.
And that Travis guy was hot too.
Oh my God, he was good looking. I was like, I would go for him. Minus the meth problem.
Minus the meth problem, the fact that he didn't know what the hell he was doing with his life.
That's true. That is very true. So there's a few things, but he was attractive. Actually, they both were attractive.
Yeah, until that other guy lost his teeth.
Yeah, until he lost all his teeth.
I was like, from the beginning, I was like, why does this guy have no teeth? And then it was the meth. Guys, don't do meth, kids. Oh, God, seriously.
Exactly. And then the worst part is too, when they talk about the meth, and again, Netflix, pro editing, they're talking about the meth, and obviously he smiled at this point, and the camera like zoomed into his teeth, and I was like, oh my God, right as they were... right as they were talking about it, I was like, oh God, like,
oh my God, it's so funny. Do you think also, I just remembered another scene. Do you think Joe Exotic burnt that studio?
Oh, that's a good question.
See, I thought,
that's a very good question.
Every episode, there's like so many things. I'm like, oh my God, what just happened?
But this is the thing about the show. It's like literally, it's so much stuff that it's just unbelievable that you're like, and not only that it's unbelievable, but there's so much stuff that's like, it's not black and white. It's like gray area. Like nobody knows. Did Carol kill her husband? Did Joe hire a hitman to go against Carol? Did Joe burn down the place? Like, I'm
trying to remember the details of that.
It had something to do with like some kind of like pending lawsuit or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but it had some records or something in there that it would be advantageous if it was burned. They wouldn't have records of it for Joe.
Yeah.
It was advantageous for Joe. So that's why the guy that was doing the documentary was like, to be honest, I think Joe did it because he got rid of certain documents that would have been, you know,
because he had all the dirt.
Exactly. Because I think part of it too is maybe, and again, don't quote me on this because I can't remember exactly, but I think Carol was like suing him at this point to try to get some of his assets, and they wanted maybe the rights to the potential TV show or something. I can't remember.
But I remember the scene where he goes into the lawyer's office and he films it. Joe does, and he's like, this guy, he's saying he's making a reality show and I don't know what to do about it. And then the lawyer is like, does he? Well, he basically, the lawyer, I swear to God, the lawyer was suggesting that you should get rid of the show or something like that. Do you remember that scene?
I do. Oh, sorry. So I backtrack on my last statement about Carol having that. It's because one of the reasons was the guy that was filming the documentary, I guess, had rights to the documentary, right? So, and this pissed Joe off. So he went to the lawyer and said, look, there's a guy filming this documentary. What are my rights? And I guess there was a document that Joe had signed to give the rights over to this particular gentleman who was filming the documentary. So he had all of the rights to the potential Joe Exotic TV show. And Joe was not happy about that.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Joe to do something like that based on everything we've seen.
I mean, he was just batshit crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, all the shit he did to Carol, the fact that he filmed a music video with a Carol lookalike.
Oh my God, she looked just like her too.
Oh my God, I thought it was Carol when it came up on the show. I was like, why? Do this? I know. And then you look closely and you can tell but it looked it was a fucking damn good lookalike.
I was like, wow, where did you find this doppelganger? Because they look literally the same.
Does it make you wonder that if we were ever in a documentary, if someone could find our doppelgangers, like someone that looks exactly like us?
Oh my God, I wonder if there's. But like Carol's face is quite unique, so I was just shocked.
It is.
Yeah, I was shocked.
Even the body size and everything, the shape and everything, it looked exactly like her.
I was like,
why the hell did she agree to this?
Like, honestly, how did they find such a clone? Like.
I don't know. It was shocking. Yeah. It was actually shocking. Even the way she smiled, her mannerisms.
Oh my God.
It was like.
Seriously.
She had Carol down to a T.
Oh my God. Well, I wouldn't want to be here right now. God damn. Imagine being the doppelganger.
No, oh God. I do feel like, oh God, probably people coming up to her all the time being like, oh my God, Carol.
Did you kill your husband?
Exactly. I do in some ways feel bad for her, especially if she didn't if she didn't kill her husband and all of this stuff is going on. And the fact that she got flack for it back when that happened. And now this is like a global phenomenon, Joe the Tiger or the Tiger King or whatever, that like it's blown up.
Yeah.
That's, she's going to get some flack for this.
But apparently they reopened the case of the husband going missing. So
really,
they reopened it, but I mean, what are they going to? It's been so long. Like, what are they going to find at this point? Yeah,
but you never know, because sometimes you have those, again, going back to cold case files and like forensic files and shit. Sometimes they'll reopen cases from like 20, 25 years ago. Or even 40, like 30 years ago. And now like the, DNA testing is advanced. Maybe they have new theories to explore, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes they do get solved. I mean,
maybe,
it's rare, I think. But again, like,
do you think you tried to fly a plane to Costa Rica? That was also one of the theories.
Yeah, well, because they found his van in like a...
Yeah, in the airport.
Remember they found his... Yeah, so I don't know. It's all just it's so mysterious.
Yeah.
Like... How is so much mystery shrouding so like these few individuals and these big cats? I just don't get it.
It's so crazy. I'm trying to think of other crazy things that happened.
I thought my life was complicated.
Oh, God damn. Wait till you get some tigers in your home.
Oh, God. That ain't never going to happen because I never want to have that.
It's shocking that these animals haven't really hurt them yet, other than the lady that got her arm bitten off.
Arm bit. Oh, this is it.
Do you think it's because they've been so domesticated and they're kind of like affectionate toward them?
In a way, yes. Right. So like, I mean, they're taken away from their mother at a very young age, and then they're kind of domesticated as well as they can be. But again, these are wild animals, right? Yeah. So like, I think that they have that instinct in them. So we even saw it with the tiger that bit Joe's shoe and started dragging him. Like that's a tiger that, or a liger or whatever, that he raised from like a baby. So, you know, these are wild animals, like no matter what, like. But I do think part of the reason why they haven't lashed out as much as like a real tiger, I say real tiger, but
wild tiger
is because they grew up with people around them, right?
Yeah, and they've been socialized that way.
Exactly. And also because the way that they probably feed them as well is they associate getting their meals with people, like giving them food. So they wouldn't necessarily attack that person because they would associate getting potentially food from them. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. It's just... It's so crazy.
Oh
it's
God.
So
I just feel bad for the tigers.
I know. It's so like, God damn. I'm trying to think what else happened in that show that was just so like, obviously you had the disappearance. You had the woman that had her arm bitten off. What else happened? God. You had that drug dealer that burned a body.
I was shocked that she went back to work after getting her arm bitten off.
But again, it was because she
had nowhere else to go. Do you think?
Well, No, it was because she didn't want the media to win. And she was like, the media will take this and make it something that it's not. I don't want them to win. So I'm going to go back to work to show them that this is not a big deal. And this, you know, we're continuing on business as usual. Because otherwise she would have rehabilitated her arm.
Because she thought that whatever they were doing at that park was right, basically.
Yes. And she didn't want the media to spin it out of control, to be like, this woman had her arm bitten off, blah, blah, blah. Whereas by her going back to work after that incident, it shows that she's not scared to go back. It's fine. It is what it is. Well, at least that was her reasoning from the show.
Right.
But again, I'm just like, I don't know. God.
Yeah, I would want my arm back. That's for sure.
Exactly.
God damn.
I would want to be able to move my fingers.
Oh my God.
I want my arm to be able to do things.
Yeah, what a decision to make. She made it sound so easy too. She was like, oh yeah, I was just like, cut it off. I was like, damn.
Just cut it off. Just take it off.
She's like, I work with a guy with no legs, so it's totally fine.
She's like, he gives me inspiration every day. To be fair, and the reason that guy lost his legs as well, he had it. I can't remember what happened. But he got into an accident where he like broke his back. And he still had his legs, but he said like because he was at the zoo walking every single day so much that he actually like wore his feet down or something, like because he'd already damaged them. Yeah, and so he had to get both his legs amputated. Yeah, it was in like I think it was in episode 2 probably. That
I did watch it though, and I do remember him talking about it. But maybe I was doing some stuff, and I just remember him saying, "Oh, people think I got my legs bitten off by a tiger, but that's not true." Exactly. But yeah, I mean, everyone that was working there, I feel like. They were very heavily manipulated by
100%. Yeah. But again, Joe knew what he was doing. You know, he picked people that were either at the end of their ropes, had nowhere to go. This was their like last shot. You know what I mean? So a lot of them were like, we don't want to, fuck this up. But it's interesting that him and his, partners were, using drugs and stuff. Cause I think a lot of those people that were at the end of their track would have been, maybe potentially drug users and stuff. Right.
Yeah.
So
I think they were drug users.
A lot of them were, yeah, definitely.
Oh God. So. And then, another thing that I want to mention about the sanctuary versus the zoo, because I think there was that episode where Joe went to the big cat rescue as like undercover, and he filmed it, and he basically was like, look, it's just as bad, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, they promise that they have over like however many tigers, but I only saw 12. I was like, well, that's because they're not going to come out. Like they're not forcing them to come out. I'm like, exactly. Do you not understand this? Like the point. Yeah. Anyway, that's one thing that I wanted to mention. And another thing is that, cause he's saying again, everyone that was in the show that owned big cats obviously had something to gain from talking shit about the big cat rescue, because that goes 100%. Against what they're doing. And so everyone was like, well, she's a hypocrite because she keeps the cats in cages. Again, these cats are not being bred, first of all. And if you actually look at the footage of the big cat rescue, like their location, it is like vastly different from the place that Joe has, for example.
Well, 100%.
There's like forestry. It's huge. Apparently their biggest cage is about the size of a small house, like 1,200 square feet or something. And it's again.
No, that's their smallest cage, I think.
Oh, there's smallest cage. Yeah. And again, I don't know much about the big cat rescue, and maybe they do have issues. I don't know. But also like, you know, you can't trust these people that are like, oh yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. It's not the same thing.
Exactly. Well, and I do think, and we mentioned this before earlier, like, again, I'm not taking sides per se as to Carol's side or Joe's side, because again, there's a lot of stuff I'm not sure. But I do think that the Netflix did Carol a little bit dirty. Yeah. And, you know, again, there's a really good video on YouTube where I think her partner's name is Howard.
Yeah.
And he basically did a video talking about Netflix and all this documentary and everything. And he was like, apparently originally Netflix had approached them and said, the whole idea of this documentary is around, passing that bill through the government. And it's all about, you know, cats in cages and blah, 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 blah. And it wasn't supposed to be a focal point of Carol's, you know, husband's disappearance and all of that other stuff. So they were really upset because Netflix took their permission to be in this documentary and like twisted the whole documentary.
Right.
So really like pointing fingers at Carol, and he was like really, really upset, obviously.
And well, to be fair though, I read one of the responses from one of the makers, I think, and it was like, well, we were asking you those questions, so you knew it was going to be in it kind of thing. But I'm like, like that doesn't necessarily mean that you think that there's gonna be an entire episode dedicated to making you look like you murdered your husband.
Well, exactly. And also they wouldn't have known maybe that they interviewed his ex-wife and all those other people. They might not have known. So literally a whole episode dedicated to her husband's disappearance. And the way they make it in the Netflix episode,
she looks guilty.
It does look like she did it.
She looks guilty.
She looks guilty as
fuck. And I'm trying to think of but the husband's also a bit weird. Like if you watch the video, he says, I do feel kind of bad for the husband because like, I don't know. He seems like a good guy with good intentions. Whatever Carol did, I'm not sure, but the husband seems like a good guy. But he did make one point. I was like, this is kind of, it's not really a good point, but because he was like, if anyone spends 1 hour with Carol, everyone will know that she is kind-hearted, blah, blah, blah. I was like, dude, it's really not. This is not a good point. Let's get to the real. Let's get to the real facts here. Okay, you can't just say like, oh yes, you know, Ted Bundy seemed like a good guy. You know, everyone thought he was a great guy.
Well, but this is the thing is like, and I'm not, again, I don't want to slag Carol off too much, but again, a lot of these,
we're being very fair.
And Ted Bundy's a perfect example. Yeah, it's like. You know, he seemed like a great citizen. He was a great father. Well, not him per se, but like they'll be like, oh, he was a great father. I never would have expected that he would have done that.
Yes.
It's like the stepfather for Gabriel Fernandez's case.
Oh,
all of his coworkers were like, he seemed like such a nice guy. Yes. I can't believe he would do that. Blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, he was like caught like, you know, doing absolutely unspeakable things to a young child.
Yeah.
So
you just don't know what people are putting forward.
This is what's scary.
I know. But actually, I do think Carol is a good person for everyone to hate on because she's so weird. So I think it's easy. Yeah. Like if she was like, you know, she seemed kind of seemingly normal, I do think that we would have a different opinion. Like public opinion would be a little bit different. I think that there is definitely a lot of bias in this because we see her, she's so eccentric, seems a bit crazy, has the crazy eye thing going, you know, and she does have a bit of odd behavior. So I get it. Yeah. I get it. But also we don't actually know.
Exactly. But it's true because it's like that whole thing that I remember seeing this. I don't know if it's like a YouTube video or like an article where they're talking about, actually it might've been on Netflix as well. It was like criminals that are like more attractive versus people that are conventionally less attractive. Actually, they did like an experiment where they
was it the 100? Was it 100 humans?
Oh,
yes,
that's exactly what it was.
I saw that one,
and it was so good. They take these people and they say, okay, look at these people, and they show one room the like really attractive people, and they say, oh, they've committed XYZ crimes, and then they show the other room like unconventionally, you know, people that aren't considered conventionally attractive, and every single person that was considered more attractive got less jail time.
Like significantly less.
Every single person, significantly less. So bringing that to the Carol point is, you're right. She was an easy person to not like or to find suspicious because she wasn't conventionally normal. She wasn't.
But her old pictures, she was pretty gorgeous.
Yeah, she was hot when she was
I was shocked.
I know. You see her and she's like, whoa.
I know. I was like, damn, you were kind of hot when you were young.
Yeah, I do love. There's like one scene, which makes me think of this. I don't know, I can't remember, but like Joe was like talking about himself, Joe Exotic, and he was like, I'm just like young, single, hot, all this stuff. I was like,
gorgeous.
Okay, yeah, gorgeous. I was like, okay, like, to each their own.
Okay, then I don't know what
Who am I to judge?
I don't know what you're seeing in the mirror every morning, but it ain't what I'm seeing.
Exactly. I need to drink whatever he's drinking to get that level of confidence apparently.
Oh my
and then
God.
maybe I'll get 2 husbands,
Oh my God. Can you imagine? But it's true though that experiment was really interesting, that 100 humans experiment. That show was was a little bit cheesy for me, but I did watch that first.
100%.
Yeah, but that experiment was very interesting.
Yeah, a few of the experiments I really liked,
yeah.
and then other ones I really didn't like. Some of them I was like, oh, this is like the one about like guys dancing, and
the sperm count. It was so dumb.
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
anyway, that's another show that you can watch on Netflix. It's called 100 Humans. It's a little cheesy, guys, but also sometimes it's interesting.
Yeah, some of the experiments, and they look at like what out of 100 people, what kind of like statistics and all kind of it's interesting. It is somewhat interesting.
It is crazy
something
that
to
we
watch
judge
in quarantine.
It is crazy that we judge so much based on somebody's just a picture. Like, oh, this person.
But I mean, it's everywhere.
It's human psychology.
We've seen experiments before. Was it I want to say Tyra Banks or somebody that like put on a fat suit and like went out and was like, made her makeup a certain way and looked and was like going for job interviews and really struggled to get a job. And then she like went as herself.
Of course.
Maybe it wasn't Tyra Banks or it was somebody else. It was like a model or somebody. And then obviously, which is like really bad because like, maybe they're the less qualified person, but just because they look a certain way, they have it a little bit easier. But maybe that's something we can talk about in a future episode.
Damn, yeah. If you're more attractive, people think you're smarter. They think you're to be trusted. They think you should get less jail time. Apparently,
they don't think you's a killer when you could be.
And this is why it's important to apparently be physically attractive.
Yeah.
If you kill your husband, you might get less jail time. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. You might get away with it and start a big cat rescue.
Oh, God.
I'm kidding.
Imagine if we said all this and then next week they found like remains of his body in the fucking.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine?
That would be crazy.
That would be
that would just be like next level. That would like top off the documentary. Like it's so funny.
God.
I saw this meme. It was like basically it showed like a wall like this, and this was like representative of 2020. And they said 2020 is like this, and then the little pillars holding 2020 up was the show The Tiger King.
It's funny that I feel like this show came out at the perfect time. Everyone is just stuck at home, and now the show is just blown up.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
Oh
my
God.
Gosh. So definitely I would recommend watching it though. It was quite like it's something else.
It was it's something else. It's very hard to describe. I'm sure people that have listened this far at this point have watched it already. I hope. Otherwise, we just ruined it all for you. So no, but it's still worth watching, even if you listen to it. But it did bother me to watch it because I think that especially if you're vegan and you watch it, it's just sad to see the tigers like that, and it's just sad to just like watch them be abused like that. But kind of not. People don't see it as abuse, and that's the problem, So it was hard for me to watch some scenes. It was really hard for me to watch. But yeah.
God damn.
Daniel got nothing more to say. God damn, that'd be the longest pause we ever had.
Oh God damn, that's true. My mouth be shut, Rose. You squeeze every inch of commentary out of me.
Oh, God damn. Well, we're gonna leave some things in the show notes for you guys to enjoy because the podcast is quite interesting to listen to because you hear.
I would definitely listen to it. Yeah,
you can hear kind of different perspectives and things that weren't said on the show, which is interesting. Yeah. Don't go to these zoos, these petting zoos or whatever. This is why I'm against zoos. And if you can, maybe go to a accredited sanctuary. I mean, if you don't go to a big cat rescue, that's fine. Didn't you go to an elephant sanctuary once?
I did, yeah. I went to one in Thailand actually.
Was it legit?
Yeah, when I was there.
Did it seem legit?
It seemed legit, yeah. Like the whole thing about this sanctuary. I did do something bad in Thailand, but again, I'll talk about that in a minute. But like I did went to this elephant sanctuary, And it was like all the elephants that were there were rescued elephants. So they were elephants that had previously been in like the logging industry or had previously been, I don't know, in
ridden,
whatever, the tourism. Yeah, ridden and stuff. And the whole premise there is like we did get to feed them, but like it was the elephant's choice. Like we would like be on this, like we were on a perch and we had food that we could give them, but they didn't have to come over if they didn't want to. And then we went down to the water and we did give some of them like baths, like throwing water on them and stuff. But again, it was like on this huge acreage. So like the elephants, they didn't have to come down to the water with us. They could just be wherever they wanted. So if the elephants wanted to have a bath, they would legit just come down and spend some time with us, which was really nice. And then during it, she also showed a video, quite a graphic video of this thing called, and I'm going to say it wrong, but it was like, there's like a word in Thai, which means like to basically the breaking in of an elephant.
Right.
And it's how they basically break the elephants to be able to ride them. It's the same as like breaking a horse or doing whatever else. So it's like taking this wild animal and taming it. And like, it's really, they basically confine this elephant into this really tiny space where it can't move. And then they like starve it and beat it and do all this crazy shit to it until it's basically like a zombie that will just do whatever people want it to do.
So sad.
So that was really, really sad. Yeah. And then the sanctuary, like you can spend money, you can like donate to the different elephants that are there and stuff like that. So I think it was legit.
It sounds like it. And it's obviously a sanctuary that shows that kind of footage and takes care of the elephants. So that's the thing. Sanctuaries do need to make money as well. So they survive on these. They are nonprofits. So, whatever money that goes in, it goes into caring for the elephants or, raising awareness or whatever it is. So I do think it's important.
And elephants, I mean, I would imagine, well, any big animals like that, they're really expensive to feed and keep care of and everything else. So I would imagine that, this sanctuary would have a tough time if they didn't get those donations. Like you said, it's a not-for-profit. So
what was the bad thing that you did in Thailand?
Oh, damn, Rose. So I did go to, and I'm never doing it again, but I did go to one of the tiger things to see the tigers. So I went with a big group of people from the hostel. They had organized it. And we went there and there was like a room where if you wanted to pay extra, you could like play with it. It was the same kind of thing. You could play with the cubs and then you could go and see like the main tigers and stuff.
Well, that's the thing. Here's the thing. I don't vilify people for doing this kind of stuff. I do feel like there's a lot of miseducation and a lot of, and I've done shit like that too. I've been to zoos. I went to SeaWorld when I was young. I thought I had a great time. I thought it was amazing, especially when you see that stuff when you're young. That kind of, you're innocent. You don't think anything of it, right? You just think, oh my God, this is amazing. You see all these beautiful animals and you see like Shamu, doing his thing and it's
like jumping out of the
and
water.
You get splashed. Yeah. It's so cool when you're that age, but you don't understand the meaning of it. So, if you have that kind of ignorance as a child, if nobody else taught you any better and you grow up, what else? What are you going to think, right? You're going to think the same thing. This is normal. We're going to take my kids to the zoo and to SeaWorld. So I don't vilify anybody for going and, doing that kind of stuff. I'm sure a lot of my friends have done the same thing. But now I think if you know more, I think that you should act in accordance. And those kinds of things that use animals for profit almost always has a dirty side to it. So,
well, this is the reason why when I was in Thailand, because I had been previously educated a bit about the elephant trade. And that's why when I went there, I said, I was adamant against riding elephants. I was adamant against, I didn't want to do any of that. The only thing I wanted to do was go to a sanctuary. I didn't know enough about the tigers. I probably should have maybe done a bit more research. But again, now that I know what I do now, I wouldn't, if I went back, I would never do it. So it is a bit about education as well and kind of like
but what's interesting, when I was in Thailand, so I went to Thailand back in 2011. This is when I was studying abroad in Singapore for a semester. So I did like a little trip to Thailand with a bunch of my friends that were also in exchange with me, and I was not vegan at this time. So this is before pre-vegan Rose. Okay.
Oh, goddamn.
This was a few months though, before I kind of started being interested in veganism and stuff. But I didn't know anything about veganism or anything like that. And we were in Thailand, and actually my group, my friends, they all wanted to do the elephant ride. They all wanted to do the tiger petting, the elephant ride. And I was adamant against it. I was like, I'm not doing it. If you guys want to do it, that's fine. I'm not going to go. So me and I think like two of my friends decided to do a different tour that didn't include like the elephant ride and the tiger petting. And they went to the elephant ride, and they were pretty much all, and I think it's also because I I talked about it before too. So they
so they'd be hypersensitive to it.
Exactly. But they were just like, oh, I still want to do it. And I was like, fine. Well, if you guys want to do it, that's fine. But then because I think they heard me talk about it, they were like, it was not good. They were like, the elephant, they were like hitting the elephants. And one of the elephants had apparently like some blood on his ear. And just like, I mean, it's common sense if you actually take a step back and think about it. Elephants do not allow humans to randomly ride on you. You know what I mean?
Well, exactly.
This is not, they're very smart animals. They're one of the smartest animals in the world. They're very, very smart. And, they would stop you if you tried to ride them in the wild. Are you fucking kidding me?
Exactly. So. But this is the thing. I actually, there was a bunch of people at my hostel when I booked the sanctuary.
Yeah.
And the reason why a lot of people didn't want to do the sanctuaries, it was substantially, sorry guys.
More expensive?
Is substantially more expensive because I think mine was like $100 for the day or something, and then you could do like a riding elephant one for like 25 or something ridiculous. So a bunch of them went on the elephant ride, and they came back and they were like, "Oh my god, that was the most horrendous experience."
Really?
And they said the same thing. They said one of the guys was like hitting the elephant on the top of its head with like this pick, and at one point it like broke the skin and it was starting to bleed at the top of its head. And the girl was like, my friend that I met in the hostel was just like, "Oh my god, it was such a bad experience." So I'm really thankful that I didn't do that.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah. It's so sad.
And to be honest, like even the tiger thing, even when I was there, I remember just seeing the tigers and like, they always say they're like, oh, our tigers are super happy. Like we feed them so much. So they're just like, you know what I mean? And it because a lot of people, there was like a stipulation or a thing that like the tigers get drugged for them to be so docile. And you went around and it didn't feel right. Like I remember even when I was there, I was just kind of like, oh, this doesn't seem like the tigers are just literally just laying around doing absolutely nothing. And like letting people go and touch them. And like, it's so, even the big tigers. And I did feel uncomfortable. I got a few photos with them and stuff, but at the end of the day, I had this feeling in my stomach. I was like, this doesn't exactly feel right. So I think you do get that. And in hindsight now, when I go to Thailand again, because it will happen at some point, I'm not going to do that. There's other things to do. There's so much fun other stuff to do that you don't have to do that.
Exactly. And it's 2020, people. Stop doing this kind of shit. Yeah. And that brings us to the end of our episode. Hope you guys hope you guys enjoyed our little rant about not riding elephants and petting tigers.
And our discussion about the Tiger King. God damn. We should have done the whole episode like this.
Oh god damn. I thought you was going to.
I was thinking about it.
Well, I think we should go to the South and go and learn a little bit more about how to do this accent.
We got to learn the lingo, God damn.
Yeah. When I was listening to their accents, especially Joe Exotic's accent, I was just like, wow, we're not even exaggerating at all when we talk.
No.
Like he sounds exaggerated.
I know. It's like so extra. But it's like, I kind of like that accent though. It's like kind of enduring as well. I don't know what it is about the Southern accent.
That's the thing.
It's like I like it, but then
it's almost like charismatic in a weird way, especially when he does it. I'm like, it's just so funny. And like anything he says sounds,
funny.
Yeah.
It's like if you have that accent, literally anything you could say.
Like I can trust you almost. Thing. Yeah. It's almost like I could trust you.
Yeah.
I'm like, you are not someone that would deceive anybody, but clearly that's not the case.
Exactly. Yeah. That's very true. Again, we talked about attractive people are also murderers and deceitful. So it doesn't matter what you look like.
Yeah.
People, these, anyway.
You could be hot and you could also be a murderer.
Exactly.
You and I could be murderers.
We could be. Goddamn. Well, we'll get into that in another episode when we talk about the serial killers. Goddamn.
Are we gonna do an episode talking about serial killers?
At some point, I feel like it has to happen. We both are like into it, and I feel like
I don't know much about it.
People be into it as well. Well, goddamn, Rose, maybe I'll be educating you on the matter.
I think so. I feel like you know.
Education.
I feel like you know lots about the serial killers.
Literally, me and my old flatmate in London, we used to watch it so much, and it was funny because like anytime we'd watch like another documentary about a killer or stuff, we'd be like, oh, well they haven't done this DNA test, or they haven't checked the bullet for the gun marks that it makes when it comes out of the gun. And then we looked at each other when we were saying all this and we're like, oh my God, we should literally have a degree in forensics for how much we've watched forensic files. Because we like literally like knew all the little things. We're like, they need to test there for fingerprints and blah, 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 blah. Like it's so funny.
Do you know the big serial killers and all their stories?
Not all of them, but quite a few of them. Yes.
So who do you know? Who do you know about? So obviously there's the good looking guy. What's his name?
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy.
There's Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, I heard about him. Yeah.
He's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
What's the other guy? The clown killer, John Wayne Gacy.
Oh, yes, I heard about him too.
There was the is it Green River Killer? Then there was the Manson murders.
Oh, God damn, you remember all these stories as well.
Oh God, not all of them, but like quite a lot.
Oh,
of them.
we
Like
need an episode. We need an episode.
Oh God damn, it'd be crazy.
So we can let Daniel shine bright with his knowledge of serial killers.
I don't know if that'd be me shining bright. That'd be me shining crazy as hell.
God damn.
People will be scared of me on the podcast, bros. We can't do that.
Anyways, guys, we could go on talking forever, but we will let you go. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Well, both. If you are watching, thank you. If you are listening, thank you. If you guys want more episodes, of course, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/TheSaVeg Podcast for extra episodes. Every month we are bringing you extra episodes.
Bonus content.
And of course, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/TheSaVeg Podcast, and all of your favorite platforms. And anything else to say, Daniel?
And that's it. And follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube, interact with us, send us messages, any topics you guys want us to talk about, let us know. And have a fantastic week and stay home, stay safe, hope everyone's doing well.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye. See you later.